Thank you, Mr. Chair. In many rural communities like Windham County, Vermont, where I live, pharmacies play a vital role in meeting community health care needs. Just like Dr. Duane, you said earlier, I mean, that resonated so much with me, all of what you said about the role that independent pharmacies play. It's really beyond dispensing medication. It's providing basic medical information services, providing counseling. And, you know, at one point I was between healthcare plans, and the paperwork wasn't done. And my independent pharmacist, whose name was Frank, I came in, and my asthma medication was hundreds of dollars a month. He came in, he said, you know, Becca, it hasn't come in, it's not running. He literally gave me the medication. He said, I know where you live. Come back when you have it straightened out. That is the kind of care that you get from independent pharmacies. So thank you for doing what you're doing for your community. Now, PBMs, as we all know, is what we've been talking about today. They contract with pharmacies to create these pharmacy networks, and whether or not patients use pharmacies in these networks can affect the amount that patients pay at the counter. And these arrangements can drive patients away from independent pharmacies in their communities. And in fact, I had a pharmacist tell me at one of my independent pharmacies, I can't really fill this for you, or I'm gonna take an incredible hit on my bottom line. And you've been a customer with us for years, and it's paining me to tell you you're gonna have to fill it somewhere else. So when I was the leader of the Senate in Vermont, we tackled the problem by enacting legislation that prohibits PBMs from reimbursing pharmacies in Vermont less than they would reimburse PBM affiliates for the same services, which I think is critically important. And Dr. Duane, I know Representative Frost was asking you some about this, but I'm wondering, now that we have a little bit more time, can you explain why it's so difficult for independent community pharmacies like yours to be part of these pharmacy networks? Just lay it all out for us.
So it's twofold. The first thing is that they can afford to offer themselves contracts that are poor, and then they can offer me the same contract. Yeah. They will happily, when they're vertically integrated, lose money out of one pocket to ensure that the money stays in the other pocket. So it's a lose-lose.
And you don't have another pocket.
No, ma'am, I don't.
Yeah.
So if I participate in that contract and it's a poor contract, I run out of business all the quicker and they're happy. And if I don't participate in the contract and I close my doors to those patients, then those patients find themselves into an affiliated pharmacy and they're able to keep that money.
Yeah, and this is the reason why we have lost over half of our independent pharmacies in Vermont, for this exact reason. And we know, and you talked about this, that each of the 3 largest PBMs also owns a specialty pharmacy that they use to dispense medications that treat rare or complex health problems. But these drugs do not legally have to be dispersed through a specialty pharmacy. And any licensed pharmacy can dispense a specialty drug as long as that drug can be purchased from a manufacturer or authorized wholesale distributor. So, Mr. Baker, how do PBMs use the specialty pharmacies that they own to incentivize patients to fill their prescriptions at the specialty pharmacy instead of Dr. Duane's independent pharmacy?
Yeah, I would say they don't necessarily incentivize anything, they mandate. It's you cannot go to his pharmacy, you have to come to mine.
Thank you for just like cutting right through that.
Yes,
not an incentive, just a mandate. Mm-hmm. So it is not hyperbole to say that independent pharmacies in so many of our rural communities are the heart of the community. That's where people get the medical attention and advice that they need, especially as rural America is losing so many of its healthcare providers. The pharmacy is critically important to communities like my own. And so it is really important that we understand the ways that PBM practices, you know, maybe steering patients away from these pharmacies and making it impossible for these pharmacies to stay open. So it's a critical part of the ongoing work that I see that we have to do, and that Democrats, I feel like, have been doing for years to try to make medication more affordable and accessible to all. I'm so glad that we're having this hearing. I really appreciate this, Mr. Chair. This is part of a problem that is making it incredibly difficult for rural Americans to stay healthy. It's as simple as that. Thank you. I yield back.
Very good. Chair now recognizes Ms. McLean from Michigan for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you all for being here on this very important topic. I think what is encouraging is if you look around, we all agree